Welcome to the H1 Wonders and Leaders tier list. We'll use the tier list to get some rough estimates of strong and weaker leaders and wonders, but we mostly use this to be able to talk a little bit more in depth about each one of them. And just like in HA, I will try to assign a more objective value to them, which I haven't really done so much. So it will be interesting to see if we can make it work and if it will align with sort of the experience that I have from the 100 games that I have played. And we'll go again from the strongest to the weakest. I think it's a nice way to do of doing it. Now, I know that if I look at this, the first thing that I kind of never skip, if possible, is like Saladin. So that will be like our first baseline. It will be, of course, one civil action, which is just yeah, good value, and there's some flexibility with the two strength. Of course, the two strength, when you use it, it should be more, obviously more value than the one civil action. Otherwise, you wouldn't use it. At the same time, you shouldn't really use the strength if you're actually using the two strength. You can use it in a pinch, like maybe one turn when you're sort of transitioning into maybe something being the weakest and just needing maybe one more turn to get some signs to get the military attack or something like that. And then you can use Saladin to not get owned. But if you're really thinking, oh, Saladin, I use the Saladin for the two strength every turn, that's you get basically very very little value out of the thing, and you're just gonna get into like a downward spiral because you're not getting any economic value, and then you're just gonna be more and more dependent on this strength because you're gonna go um, behind on your on your economy and therefore your strength. So yeah, definitely want to use this civil action as much as possible. Even let's say people are 10 strength, 9 strength, 8 strength, and you're also 9 strength, you could um, take the civil action, or you can go +2 to go to 11. Now, if you're at 11, you're strongest, but if there's like people don't see it because you're gonna be weakest, maybe the first one will see it, but the second one will be bottom two weakest, right? With 9 and 8 will also be bottom two, so only then the next one will see it, and then that has to be exactly a strength event. Otherwise, you don't get any payoff. Well, I guess also when you see it again. But yeah, there's like two events, and then you get some strength event. You get maybe some payoff, but one civil action can also just pick up a yellow card, get you like two rocks. So um, usually, unless you have like very straightforward information, you don't really want to even, if it makes you the strongest, you don't even want to use the strength. So it's pretty interesting. Of course, if you're gonna be weakest, then might be good, or if you're in danger uh, of some aggression against you, then it can be good. So I mean, of course, it's an upside that it's possible, but definitely the baseline is like the one civil action. And yeah, I mean, we already talked about one civil action with Hammurabi. Hammurabi also takes away the military action, which is definitely a downside. And I think we said like maybe 1.5 rocks. And then because it was Hammurabi with losing some military action, it would be like 1.2, I think I said. So maybe some baseline 1.5 rocks per turn with a little bit extra upside with the strength. So that's pretty decent. Um, then the next one that catches my eyes, maybe Nostradamus. I'm also looking at Barbarossa, but this one I will have to think about how much you get. This guy is definitely interesting. Um, but I am a big Nostradamus monkey. I think he's one of the strongest. The higher level games I play, the more I value Nostradamus, because in lower levels, honestly, okay, he's still frequently amazing. So I don't even know, but high levels, people tend to Look out more for your potential of your strength. So let's say I have uh, some amount of food and some amount of population that I have left over, right? Because you can usually see like you make your double alchemy, you make your triple uh, mines, double food. You don't, yeah, you don't need any extra for that. Maybe a happy face solution, and then you can just very easily discern like, okay, they don't have irrigation, so they're not making any more guys. Um, they're not making any more workers, so you can very easily see, okay, you can make like two knights, two warriors, and that it will be like 10 strength, right? And then they will try to be able to go to 11 strength, right? Maybe by taking a wonder, or yeah, I mean, there's different ways to do it. But yeah, obviously they are very much more aware, and they will push a bit higher than in lower levels. That's what I kind of realized. And then Nostradamus, this plus three, they just cannot really outperform this plus three, and so everyone, yeah, you're just extremely safe. So if people actually start pushing for strength, and they will actually push it to the fact that you can't get any higher, then you get plus three. That's just way too much. They cannot push against that, so you'll always be safe. And then, I mean, it's very stable, right? Obviously, it's very stable. And then it's not only that, it's like three strength. You get three culture every turn you see. Then of course with the three strength, it's much easier to see. You also know what is coming a little. If you have Nostradamus for a while, then you also know what is coming. So you can also more prepare more easily. So it's easy to see it in two ways. Um, Now, yeah, and just in general, you get a lot of value from just knowing exactly what is coming. So, for example, if you know there's a lot of strength events coming, okay, you just make normal military. You have your plus three. You're fine. You're not gonna get owned. You can just make a little bit more eco. Like instead of having to build another knight, you could, in theory, build like another mine because you have this plus three, and you'll be still not weak, right? Um, let's say but which something that very often happens to me is I actually see that there's going to be things seeded that are not a strength events, maybe like one strength event in like 6 cards, and I'm like, you can actually just have the Nostradamus with the plus three strength, knowing that you can also stay the weakest even, right? So you can be on very low strength with the plus three. You're never in danger for any aggressions, so you can stay so incredibly low and have zero danger at all, focusing entirely on economy. Also knowing maybe there's gonna be some events that punish your population or food or this and that, and yeah, you can just play around that. So that also gives. I mean, it's just incredible amount of safety, value, flexibility, knowledge. I mean, Giga. This one is, yeah, similar to Saladin. You can always pick it up. He's always good, and he's always insane. And now the three, like if it didn't make any culture, I would pick this still in S tier. I think maybe high A, but then it also gives you three culture. Like that's so much. That is like some H2. You have some Bach, right? And then Bach makes two culture. Then you have a drama, and then he makes another drama, and you have like four culture. This guy just makes you three culture every turn plus all this other stuff. It's an H1 leader. Like, I mean, that's a joke, right? That's like insane. I mean, this is completely nuts. So, I mean, honestly, maybe Nostradamus is even stronger than Saladin, to be honest. But yeah, doesn't really matter. Like they're both really great. I know. I mean, I really can't stop talking about this Nostradamus. Like so sick though. Okay, I'm just gonna put it at first then, because yeah, so sick. I mean, I've been in some some lobby. This is gonna be like a long video. I can tell I'm in like a talkative mood. I've been in some lobby where there was like one very well a lot weaker player than the others, but he has Nostradamus, and then suddenly he has like a great game. I'm like, yeah, just take Nostradamus, suddenly you have a great game. That's it. Like you just you cannot punish Nostradamus. The only thing you can punish him with is foray, right? That foray is like the one thing that he cannot really defend against. So Barbarossa, yeah, this one I think should be also somewhere here or here. But let's think about it a little bit because it's an interesting one. Because I think I had this a little bit higher before, but this actually depends a little bit if you're like irrigation, for example. Because before, when I maybe in like my first 50 games, I would take H1 techs, like all of them. Even at the end of H1, I would take irrigation because and I'm still have this similar mindset that I like to not low roll. I like low variance. So I'm thinking like, oh, there's like one person with irrigation and there's three people that have no irrigation. I'm like, what if I'm the last one to get the selective breeding and it's like on the bottom, right? Then I'll have like no food for whole of H1, whole of H2, and doesn't that kind of screw with me? So that's why, and I'm still kind of have this same mindset where I really like to avoid the low rolls. Um, but I definitely pick irrigation way less now because I think it's because I have a little bit better of a sense of sort of the timings of things, and the deck goes actually a lot quicker than you might think or than I might think. Like oh, there's like 50 cards in the deck, and oh, I need the selective breeding now, right? And but actually, oh, I actually still need to make my call or something, and that takes already 2 turns, and then I need to make a military unit, and then that takes another turn, and then suddenly like we're already 4 turns in, and suddenly you see, oh, the deck only has like 15 more cards left. Like the deck just goes if you need to do like one or two things, there that takes a lot of time, and then so basically I think you're not that much in a rush to get everything you want because it takes time to develop everything. And so now I don't take irrigation, for example. And also, yeah, the very, very hard fall off of the food once you go deeper. So the irrigation just falls off very quickly. But anyway, the main point is I take a lot less irrigations. And if I take less irrigations, that often means I go into H2 without irrigation, and you go into H2, you lose 2 population, you go into the third bracket of your food, of your population, and you're gonna go +0, right? So if you have Barbarossa at the end of H1, you go into H2, you cannot get any more food out. Now your Barbarossa is not doing anything until you get a new guy. So it gets a lot worse, depending on if you take irrigation or not. This also probably means that now that I think about it, you maybe should take irrigation a bit more if there's like Barbarossa Janziska in the game or something, which I didn't really like. I just realized this. Like I'm like I feel like I like this more, and I'm like why not anymore? And this is the difference. The irrigation. I used to have irrigation all the time, and now I don't. Um, so Um, I usually like to take Barbarossa, knowing it's coming. Maybe it's on three CA, or I know that like maybe two people already have a leader, and then I'm like, okay, this Barbarossa is still in there. It's coming. I like to sit on my food instead of making a unit with the food, right? Sit on your food, and then suddenly you take the Barbarossa. You have maybe 4 or 5 food. If you have 5 food, maybe you just make 2 units with the Barbarossa right away. And that gives you basically whenever you use them, you get 1 rock, 1 food, and and an action, a civil action, because normally you would only use 1 military action, and now you would you would use 1 civil action and then a military action. Now you only use the military action and you do this. So, I mean, 1 food, 1 rock, and an action that is basically two really strong turns of a good leader. Like two turns of a strong leader. Like one civil action is slightly worth slightly less than one rock, one food is, I would say. Like we said before, like one and a half rock, and maybe food is a little bit less value than a rock. So I don't know, like 1.8 or something. So two strong turns, so maybe two and a half turns. So if you get two procs out of the Barbarossa, then you already have so much value. As in, that is basically like five turns of another guy. So you can, in one turn, you can get the value of five turns of another guy. You also get it instantly if you really have this food saved up. You get it instantly. Um, so you get it front loads, which is also stronger, right? Because if you get one rock, one rock, one rock, one rock, one rock, one rock, or you get five rocks turn one, you can spend those five rocks, become stronger right away. Maybe get an aggression up, maybe you get to win some strength events on the turn two, when otherwise you would be strong on turn five, but not on turn two, if you get what I mean. So this is yeah, kind of that's what I thought, but I wasn't sure. I feel like if you get like just like two procs from this guy, he's already done. Even like he's already worth it. Even if he sits around, like let's say you take this at the end of H1 a little bit, maybe there's like two more turns in H1 left. You just use this. You use two procs. Then you have zero food. You go to +0 because you have no irrigation. +0 food per turn, and then you sit around on the Frederick Barbarossa for like three more turns in H2, and you're like, and I was feeling like, oh, that kind of feels a little bit bad. But for some reason, I feel like he's not still not bad. And now putting the numbers together, I think it's right. I think it's right that if you just get two procs, yeah, you get about like five turns of value of any other leader, and then you can also still play around it, right? You can get a reserve, you can still get a selective reading, of course, in H2 if you're a little bit lucky and get it early, it would be sick. You can also have this very nice um, colonization. So if there's some colonization, like of course, like vast territory is insane, of course. But yeah, colonization, you can maybe get some food from that, or get back a little bit of food production because of yellow tokens, and then you can very quickly maybe get another proc. And you can even use this to do a revolution and get out of corruption to do these things. So yeah, no, I mean, what about just S tier anyway? Because I feel like, I mean, okay, maybe still A, because like these guys you can always take and they always work. This guy, I mean, it's not very hard to make him work, to be honest. So it's like it can go either way here. But I think like these are solid and they are very strong. This guy sometimes doesn't work, but usually does. But also he can sometimes work like completely pop off, right? Especially if there's like Suez Canal, or you have some colony in the game, or you actually have irrigation, or you actually have some nice food stocked up with maybe a shoka or something, or just in general maybe some events. You get some extra food, and then you get like three procs out of him, and then you can actually sometimes just get a very nice tact, or you get a very nice strength push where you get an aggression off or something like, yeah, super sick. And now that I think that I really think that if you get two procs out of him, he's kind of already really strong. Then yeah, he kind of has to be S tier, I think. Like get two procs, you get two actions, which is Saladin. Then you also have two rocks, two food, which is like a sort of like a Leonardo da Vinci. When you already have a lab, you get like one science, and maybe you're probably not making a technology every turn. I mean, it can actually get like five. But that's okay. But Leonardo is also super sick, of course. But yeah, just then it's would even, yeah. But then it's also front loaded, so yeah, you get like four. Basically what I said, like 4 or 5. Yeah. And 5 turns is a lot of turns. Like I said, mm, 5 turns is, I mean, in total, you have like 19 turns usually, maybe like two in H4, like 17. You have like 16 turns out of like 3 ages. So like five turns is like a whole ass age already. And then you can still, like I said, I don't know if I finished the thought, but you can take reserves, take like 3 food or 2 food, and then just make another guy with that very cheaply. So it's good stuff. Very good stuff. Yeah, Leonardo da Vinci is definitely one that I think is very strong. If you have of course, a lab. Um, I never go for library, so don't really think that's in order. But yeah, you get a lab, you go to 4 science per turn. This guy gives you another science, which definitely has zero diminishing returns, honestly. If you go from 4 to 5, it's just good. And then you get every time you develop technique gain one. And if you get 5 science per turn, H2's technologies are around 6. So H1 technologies are around a little bit less, maybe 5 or 4, unless you go into the government. So maybe you can get around a technology per turn if you just have 2 labs and Leonardo da Vinci. Like slightly less, I would imagine, especially if you're taking into account like maybe an H2 government, um, and H2 buildings if you go into H2. But yeah, I mean, not that far off. So, and then you get a science and a rock. So if you get Leonardo da Vinci off, I think probably it's just S tier, but you need alchemy for it. So I probably just put it in A. No, I really like Jan Siska. Like the more I play, the more I like him. But it's a little bit uh, some bias probably in works where you take this whenever you have a knight tactic and he pops off immensely, and then if you don't have a knight tactic you don't really notice it. He's like still fine, honestly, even if you have just a normal infantry tactic. To me it's a little bit like Nostradamus, where he just gives you free strength, and he gives you the military action, which is very nice, honestly, because I usually like to go into H2 um, government. So it will just give me that until I get that. And then he just randomly gives the culture similarly to Nostradamus. It's just like super solid. And then he also randomly gives you like 2 to 3 culture per turn. And before I said a lot like, okay, I don't care about culture. Uh, but yeah, there was like a nice comment from Ipoki. He was like, yeah, there's also culture still in the game. Of course, I know. And you can just take leaders and wonders that are just good and produce you culture, right? So I mean, if you have the choice, yeah, just give me two or three culture, and then suddenly in the end game, yeah, the higher opponents I play, the harder the wars are getting. I'm definitely noticing this. So now I'm really thinking like, oh, this extra 3 culture per turn. If you get that for 5, 6 turns, then yeah, that is 15 culture. That is like, that is a really big difference in the end game. Still, 15 culture. Yeah, now that I'm not allowed to war for like 30 culture as much anymore. Um, I this really went up quite a bit for me. There's Nostradamus and Jan Siska, but I think they're like, again, they're strong without the culture, but for some reason they also make culture. So I mean that is just very nice, and a lot of culture, by the way. Yeah, so I definitely noticed that also in my games, that I see people take these, and I'm at start of H3, and now they have like 15, 20 culture more than me. And my options just get more limited, right? It's like, yeah. So yeah, it is still relevant, but you don't take it for the culture. You take it because he's strong, and then he also makes you culture. It's still a very nice benefit anyway. So how much does this give you? If you get you can go for the triple farm. Very often people go for triple farm. I think you should then go for irrigation triple farm, otherwise it doesn't make too much sense. If you go for selective breeding with triple farms, it's kind of awkward. I would say it's like a bit weird. But yeah, people often go for triple farm. You can do like triple night, triple farm. Then you basically, how much would you get from that? Because normally you would maybe make like, instead of the farm, you can make like a warrior. Let's say, okay, the farm also gets you stuff though, so you can't really just say that. But let's say you make two warriors and a knight. Hmm. And then you get that tactic or something. And it's kind of weird. It's a little bit weird to compare. Hmm. Okay, let's do an easier comparison, right? You have just two farms and then two knights. And then you have the knight tactics where it's one knight, one warrior. Then with Jan Siska, you get 2, 4, 6, 8, 8 strength. Without St. Jan Siska, you wouldn't make two knights, you would make a warrior and a knight, and that would be 3, 5. So Jan Siska would basically give you 3 strength. Of course, it does cost one rock extra, but that's not that big of a deal. So you get like 3 strength and 2 culture per turn and a military action. Yeah. I mean, yeah, this is super sick. I mean, I don't know what to say about it. Like, it's kind of hard to quantify military action and culture. 3 strength, of course. Yeah. I mean, you can definitely compare it to other guys. Like, if you compare this to this, let's say it's both 3 strength, but this actual strength, and then you have both like similar amount of culture production, and um, then this you get a military action. This you get to know all the events, which is maybe also similar, but I would say this is the events is probably stronger. Yeah. And then, of course, the big downside is that you're not always getting the knights, and you're also not always getting the knight tactic. So that is basically, if you get just the infantry tactic, let's think about that one for a second. Yeah, I guess you can just get 2 strength from maybe triple farm with some infantry, and then you get also 2 culture and this. So it's again maybe 2 strength instead of 3, but of course this is also not real strength, and then you get like 2 culture instead of 3, but this is also not exactly 3 because you can't always seed, and then this, yeah. So yeah, I think Nostromo is stronger in general, but if things line up, then Jansiska is maybe a little bit, yeah. Then Jansiska should be a little bit stronger because basically the 3 strength is real, so you actually win strength events. Military action, I think, is, yeah, maybe, yeah. So then Jansiska should be stronger, but this is just easier to pick up. But yeah, I don't know. Like, even like this guy is just like super strong, and even if he's not strong, he's still strong. And then he also makes you culture, which is just, yeah, insane again. Then let's say, what else is there? Yeah, here I don't really have strong feelings about. There's also a few that I don't really know exactly how to use, yeah, optimally yet. Like, I think I could probably talk an hour about Columbus. For me, obviously, if you have vast territory, then it goes to like S tier. Um, I don't know exactly what is the cutoff for Columbus that is actually good or not. Like, I think you would, first of all, you kind of need an HA leader that you can stick with without losing too much value. Of course, like something like Ashoka would be insane. I mean, Sun Tzu, you can get vast territory at least, but then you're stuck with Sun Tzu for a long time. Um, yeah, like Hammurabi or something is like something, but you don't really draw the territory that easily. But at least he's strong. So I mean, there's probably a few HA leaders which you can stick with without losing too much value in H1 compared to the other guys. Um, then I'm not really sure exactly what territory. To me, it's like, without really arguing the perfect numbers, to me it kind of feels like first fast territory or nothing, because I'm like, oh, you lose out on HA value by not picking another leader. Then in H2, you're also losing out on a leader until you replace Columbus. So you can like basically sit on like a whole H without a leader compared to another person. Like let's say halfway of H1 you would get the Leonardo, but now you take Columbus, and normally you would get like one rock every turn from your, I don't know, like Cleopatra or something, but now you can get a science per turn, so you lose out on like 3 turns of science, and then another 2 turns into H2, or maybe 3 turns, so that can be like 5 turns. That's basically a whole H. So you lose out on like 5 science. Um, but then you can take Columbus, and sounds like a territory would be worth 5 science in actually a lot of cases. Like, for example, developed territory is 3 science, and then you get the tokens that should already be worth the same. Although this is again a little bit more front loaded. This is something, actually no, it's not, because this is basically half H1, half H2, so this would be in the middle. So this is actually also similar timing. It's very important to understand if it's front loaded or back loaded, because the earlier you get it, the more value you get. Is like interest, right? Interest. So the timing is also actually is similar timing, so there's no loss there. So I would say, yeah, no, actually getting a little bit of a feeling that like Leonardo is great, like is S tier if you get actually this value out of it. Oh, I want to go on a tangent a little bit, but okay, let's try to focus. Um, yeah, saying that if you get Leonardo, but normally you have a rock, which is already good, then you get a good leader. You get 5 science. 5 science I would trade for, yeah, basically, like I said, developed territory. And then developed territory is not the strongest one. Of course, fast is the strongest, but inhabited should be stronger than developed, I would say. Maybe even the 2 strength one, you get 3 cards into H2 early is not so bad. So yeah, actually, now that I think about it, and that's why I also like to make this video, I think Columbus might be stronger than I would give him credit, thinking he doesn't do anything for a lot of turns, but that's actually not really true. It's only a few turns, and you lose half the value, not the whole value, because you still have an HA leader, and then in H2 you lose some turns, but also depends, I guess, a little bit on how many H2 leaders are pickable. Like if you have a lot of Bach and Shakespeare that you don't want to pick, and there's like only 2 good leaders, then maybe it's a little bit harder to take. But no, I cannot really put him here at the moment. I think you need like an HA leader that is good a little bit. But I'm not really so sure about this yet. But I feel wrong to do this here, but theoretically it might be. So I'm curious to hear some comments about this Columbus, what people think. Um, yeah, and it really, if you get the fast territory, okay, but you don't know. Oh yeah, you can also just get no. Oh yeah, you can also just see this and you have no territory in your hand. Like almost in my mind, oh, there's almost like, oh, you always have a territory, but sometimes you don't even have a territory, or you have like, yeah. So that's why it can't really be higher than this, I think. But if you have not only vast, maybe also others. Not exactly sure. I wonder what people would have in their hand. Oh yeah, and you can also, of course, with Colossus is good. You can also try to gamble and on a H2. There's a lot of territories in H2. I also realized like there's like 7 of them, and all of them are like good or something. So it's interesting. Like even if it's bad, then you can like if you don't really have anything, maybe you have some backup like developed territory, and then if the developed territory doesn't really give you much value, and you don't have an H, you just wait until you get an H2 leader, then you just play the Columbus with the H1, and it's like not no, with the developed territory H1, then it's like okay, whatever, it's like fine. I think it's fine already, like funnily enough, and that's kind of says a lot. And then in H2, like you have to wait on your if you see a leader, so you can maybe take like 2 turns to find an H2, and if you get an H2 one, that I mean everyone knows Suez Canal with an H2 territory is like super sick. So I'm gonna be bold maybe, and I don't know. It feels weird, but I'm gonna be bold and put it in A. Yes, very cool. Let's say what else? Um, Now I'm very scared of this hero leader. I have not taken this guy enough to really know. I used to think this one went like completely up and down. When I first played a bit, some person completely owned me. It was not a 4 player game. It wasn't a 3 player game. Like he just had like Michelangelo with some Basilica and made a million points, and yeah, I didn't really know how to play the game to be honest. But I knew that I was like I saw that number go up and I was like, what the fuck? It's completely broken, you know? But now after seeing it a few more times, they just completely fall off in H3 if they really go for that. They just don't have enough output if they just focus on happy faces that they don't need, you know? But then I saw some interesting games where high level players take wonders that actually give economic output instead of these culture actually not really caring about these happy face part, but just caring about the wonders and taking them for cheap and getting the rock and basically try to go for masonry and iron and just make build a lot of wonders, and that's a very interesting way of playing which I have done 0 times, so I can't really say too much about this. um to me, before I would put him at like D, but I think that he is viable sometimes and maybe even strong sometimes, but there's definitely certain setup which is not so easy, I think, like way harder than for example Leonardo, because yeah, I have this like, I mean if it comes early it's yeah, like Leonardo is a bit difficult, but that's why you should also listen to what I'm saying and not just look at the tier list, because I think Leonardo you could put him in B as well, because if he comes you don't have the lab, then you know you can't really take him, kind of. But but if you do have it, I feel like I don't have Leonardo that often. Like I love him, but it's just yeah, you need to have the lab, otherwise it doesn't make sense. So maybe I'll put him at. I still think that he's A, like because whenever you take him, he's like S tier. So and it's not that difficult to take. It's very clear, like but yeah, he's definitely not one of the most picked for me because of the fact that he cannot take him without the lab. But yeah, so Michelangelo before I would actually like after like 10 games I would put him in S tier. Then after like 50 games I would put him in D tier. And now after 100 games, um, again I should really pick this hero maybe some more often. But I think I think he needs a lot of setup, and then if you do, then he could be relatively strong. But I think like B tier strong, maybe high B tier, low A tier strong, and then I think a big downside is that you have this wonders in an H3. It's very important to get a good wonder out to get like 30 points. And if you need to spend like 8 civil actions because you already took like 5 wonders. Okay, I mean 5. I mean you can do 5, but yeah, yeah. No, I mean maybe 4. Then suddenly it just gets very awkward with this wonder, but again, I haven't really tried it out, so but that's definitely a downside. Um, I feel like maybe C for now, but yeah, I'm also curious to hear some thoughts about this. But I feel like there's probably some people that are like experts in Michelangelo, and a lot of people that don't really use him that often. And there's like, I feel like this would be some. Like, it seems like a very fun guy, to play. Make a lot of wonders. Like, isn't that what everyone wants? Just like one wonder, one wonder. That's like you don't get to do that very often. So uh, I think there's probably some people that just take this guy. I think he's like S tier, and just jam all the wonders all the time. So if there's like a Michelangelo main, I'm curious what they think. Mm, yeah, I think like Sean of Arc for me is maybe like solid B tier. Like these temples government, like you don't actually want to theocracy nonsense. I think, yeah, like even with Joan of Arc, and you don't want temples. Like, oh wow, I take the H1 tech for the temples to get two happy face to get two strength. It's like it's fine value for that time, but then after Joan of Arc is gone, now you have H1 temples which are not good for anything. They're frequently expensive to make. 5 rocks instead of just bread and circuses for 3 rocks. They have only bad synergies late game. They cannot be upgraded to like a tier 4, like bread and circuses, and they don't actually solve your happy phases for the rest of the game. So it's just super awkward to actually get the strength value. I feel like, and of course, 1 minute tree is nice, one culture. I mean, if you just compare it to Jan Ziska, I feel like okay, this thing as the beginning of your politics phase, you may look at the top card, which is good. It's like maybe surprisingly good. Like okay, I mean, does it really matter? I'm strong or I'm weak, and usually doesn't like I know if I want to see it or not, but it's actually so somewhat surprisingly strong. You see something on top, and like, oh wait, there's rats, right? Something like that. And oh, let me actually use my food and not open, and then I don't get hit by rats. And yeah, definitely is some nice value. I wonder how much value you would assign to that. That's kind of difficult again. But for me, it's basically a worse on Ziskao. Like far majority is like, oh, sometimes you get a temple from the event, but also often not. And I just don't want to make more temples. I don't want to make the government. There's also this funny St. Peter's Basilica synergy. I don't want to make St. Peter's either. So it doesn't synergize with anything that I want to do. So if I want to make it work, I will do things that I don't want to do, which greatly diminishes the strength. And then yeah, it just makes less culture. It makes less strength. And then for that you get a little bit of top top event. I don't think it's good enough. Like it's fine. It's like B tier. You can always kind of take it and it's like fine. Like but there's so many strong leaders in H1, I think, that I don't pick this up very often. Like very not quite rarely actually. I'm actually sad if I take the Joan of Arc, but just not because Joan of Arc is so weak, but because there's so many strong leaders. I don't know. It's kind of crazy how strong these leaders are. Genghis Khan, for me, is kind of D tier. Okay, but let's actually move this out then, because I think Isabel is also maybe like C tier. Mm, yeah, sometimes you really have put in some colonization things, and then there's Suez Canal, and then she can be okay. But if you don't get the colonization payoff, this is extremely weak. Like 1 rock per turn, that's like HA value, right? Like you'd rather have freaking mm, Hammurabi or something, or you'd rather have No, no, not Nostradamus. Right, yeah, no, yes, no, not what's he called? The science guy, whatever. Um, so yeah, of course, in 4 players, there's more colonization, but if you pick this early, then people are just not gonna see it. So you kind of want to pick this maybe halfway or at the end of H1, expecting some colonies to come, maybe you seed it already yourself. But if you take this early, then no one's gonna seed, and then you just have like one rock per turn, which is just completely awful. But even if you get some colonization, you still need to pay, and then you also really need to win. And so, like if you actually uh, put in some stuff and you still don't get it, that's like the saddest thing in the world. Like someone took cartography, you take Isabel, you put +2 in, and what do you get out of it? Well, you still don't get a colony, and then it's like super sad, right? So there's like the only thing you can really count on is this one rock and two blue tokens. It's not nothing, but it's not a lot. So this to me is like an HA hero very often, some upside, but not a lot. But yeah, this was one thing that was kind of interesting. Like, mm, if you take it a little bit later, then it can be better because then people actually put more colonies in already. Gutenberg, I think Gutenberg, I rated maybe higher than other people. I don't know actually how people rate this, but I think Gutenberg is pretty strong. Like obviously, an extra civil action and an extra discount and to culture. I mean, that is the most value except for Barbarossa that you can get, but it is even stronger than like a lot stronger than Saladin, which is S tier. Now, of course, it's very obvious that there's a lot of yeah, how do you say it? Like there's restrictions to this leader. You need labs in 4 players. There's no libraries really, unless maybe on H2 you can take a library for free or something, but it's like usually not worth that much either way. Um, but yeah, if you really have this on the same row with a lab, and you can take the lab, you're doing something else, like you're playing like with an iron, and you actually make the iron upgrade. You just place the lab, and then you make another upgrade with a lab. Then you get like 3 procs, and you get even a fourth proc, while not giving up anything, right? Because if you actually have nothing to do and you kind of just want to jam the lab and jam in 2 lab guys, 2 workers, then by delaying it, you lose value. Suddenly, it's not so great. But if it's actually something you want to do, then it's the strongest leader in the game for H1. So yeah, there's. But I think let's again think about how many. Oh yeah, and then of course in H2 you might have nothing to do anymore, and then you need to switch out of it. But it's a bit similar to Frederick Barbarossa in a way that if you don't have the food in H2, it's gonna actually kind of wanna. It's kind of useless, this Barbarossa, right? Unless you really get selective breeding, like some kind of food income, or you do have the irrigation, which I think I might need to take more often with this in the game. Um, so yeah, similarly, like we said, like oh, if you use this 2 times, you're already good, right? Actually, just strong. Like if you so how many times would you want to use this? Well, comparing this to this, if you want to be really strong, one civil action, you get one of this instead of uh, one and one, but you also got 2 culture. I don't know. Yeah, don't really care too much. Like it's like a few times, but no, it's still something. So I feel like let's say you already have a lab in your hand. I think that's like the main difference, right? Sometimes you already have the lab in hand. Perfect case, you can like take it with the Johannes, but let's say you already have a lab in hand. You take the Johannes, you make it one time, then you make 2 labs in the next turn, and it's actually sort of convenient instead of yeah, you have some other stuff that you need to do as well. So you don't want to make like 2 labs right away. Then you get 3 civil actions, and then let's say one science 2 rocks. One science 2 rocks is maybe two more civil actions, so that is basically you get +2, which is, and then you get also some culture, but that I don't know. I really don't care about it too much. Um, so I think that would be basically if you have an alchemy in hand, you get +2 turns compared to a Saladin. Um, so you can have this guy in hand for maybe two more turns before you really want to switch him out, which, yeah, very obviously, even if you have an alchemy in hand, then, yeah, unless it's like a very late alchemy or something, then you're usually just gonna have this Johannes in hand for like two more turns without him doing anything. So then even if that's the case, he's still worse than Saladin. Saladin, you can just keep into H2, and then of course the action doesn't fall off at all. It just gets stronger in a way, because then now you can take yellow cards that give you 3 rocks instead of 2 rocks. Meanwhile, this action, yeah, no, I mean, yeah, this rock and science comparatively will be less value. So yeah, +2. I think it's like fine, but yeah, then it's maybe C tier then. Like if you really if you're taking it if you're taking it with when you already have the lab in hand and it's still not S tier, if you do that, then I think it's C tier, because a lot of times you can't even take it. But yeah, there's many cases. So yeah, basically if you have this in hand, if you have an alchemy in hand, you see this, you can probably take it. It's probably A tier. It's kind of difficult to do, but very often you cannot take this at all. So that's why I put it in C. But this definitely needs a lot of context. Probably the most out of any of these. Um, yeah, Eleanor and Genghis Khan. Funnily enough, yeah, I think Eleanor is also really not strong at all. But also this one is also one that I don't like. These two are the ones that I actually know. These three, okay, maybe, yeah, these three all have a little bit. I don't have a great grasp on yet. I think the other ones I have a decent understanding. But Eleanor, um, the problem with Eleanor in H1 to me is it doesn't solve any of your problems, right? You want to build up economy, great. You get some Leonardo, you get some Saladin, and you need some strength help. Yeah, great. Nostradamus, Barbarossa, Yanciska. You already have H1, HA leader. Okay, yeah, great. Columbus. Like, they all solve problems, and there's always problems that you have. You're in H1, there's a lot of problems, and very often it's like some strength. And then you get Ziska, and suddenly you have no problem with the strength. You just get like giga value, also military action. You get Eleanor, suddenly you're not strong, and now you have to prepare an event every turn because otherwise you get no value from her. I find it very awkward. Having no value from economy, so economy is also military in a way because you can just get more science and rocks, and with those science rocks you can make more guys, right? You can make stronger guys. So everything helps you to be stronger or to make something happen. Eleanor, mm, you can draw a tactic, and H1 doesn't really matter too much. Like, it's just sadness, I think. So you're not strong, you cannot actually seed, then you don't get the military cards. If you do seed, you get some military cards. Okay, cool. But I mean, where's the where's the giga value in that? I mean, still cannot hold the card, so still you can maybe bid a little bit more with colonies because you can redraw colonization cards quicker, but and then you get this replace 3 civil action back to 1, of course. I don't know. Well, the first time I saw this, I was like, oh, 3 civil action. Oh, that's quite nice. But it's, of course, 3 instead of 1, so the difference is only 2. But this definitely makes it more of a transitional leader. And the other reason why it's also more of a transitional leader is because in H2, I do actually want to draw the military cards. So if you, for some reason, didn't have a leader until end of H1, then you can take Eleanor. In H2, you can draw extra military cards actually strong because, well, the tactics are really strong. The colony cards are also very strong compared to the H1 ones. Just very easy to win a colony with it. So, and then you the value of the one time plus two silver actions, of course. The less turns it's in play, the higher the value per turn. So for me, it's purely kind of transitional leader. Mm. But yeah, the fact that doesn't make you stronger, needing to push is kind of awkward. I don't know. So you don't take this unless it's at the end. So that already makes her at most B tier, but then she's not even so super sick or anything. Like probably at the end of H1, I would put it at A tier. Um, so the rest of H1 is like D tier. So I think maybe around top C tier, maybe bottom. But I would take Joan of Arc a lot more times than this. Yeah, again, honestly, like I don't really pick these because there's so many strong leaders usually. And then so Johannes, I picked more often than Eleanor because you actually get into the situation where he's A tier relatively often because I really prioritize labs as well. And then I think Genghis Khan can be in D tier because yeah, if you get him going, he can get you some culture, which is basically Jan Ziska, but Jan Ziska just gets the like let's say you have a triple knight, right? Instead of or sorry, you have the heavy cavalry, that's the dream. Then you get 4 strength when normally you would have 2 strength from the infantries, right? Triple infantry. So you get 2 strength from the Genghis Khan, and then let's say you get 3 culture per turn because you're always strongest, let's say, right? Um, Now compare this to Jan Siska. Jan Siska also gets 2 strength, but he can also get more than 2 strength quite easily. And then he also gets the culture, and then he also gets a military action for some reason. So even if you get the dream scenario for Genghis Khan, Jan Siska is still stronger. Besides that, the transition with Jan Siska, maybe Jan Siska also, or Jan Siska you make like 2 knights or something, or 3 knights. That transitions way better into H2 than uh, triple warrior or something. And the other thing is also once the once this leaves, basically once this leaves, that's basically the transition. The other thing is Jan Ziska, you can be way more flexible with the strength. Also, you make like first 1 knight, you get 1 time tactic bonus. You make 2 knights, you get 2 time tactic bonus. Genghis Khan is kind of like you make 3 guys and you get the +4, and then you're like, okay, that's my strength, guys. Because the next time you want to upgrade your strength, you need to make another 3 guys because you have to take some warriors, maybe some swordsmen, I guess. Um, so he's also not very good at scaling. It's this way. So you need to have a cavalry, then he kind of still sucks. Then he doesn't transition. Like it's just garbage. Let's be real. Okay. Then we're at 1 hour in. I feel like I almost need to make like a separate video for just the wonders, but maybe we can also. I don't want to rush it, but for some reason last time it was like 15 minutes leaders and then 10 minutes wonder. So maybe we can do a little bit of the same. Like the nice thing is we already talked about Saladin, for example, and then we can say, oh, the Forbidden City is this Saladin strength in a wonder, and then also 2 happy phases ignored, which is not as good as 2 happy phases, of course, because of yeah impacts and events. Okay, but let's see. Let's go again with the top from top to bottom. I think it's I don't know if it's clear, but like for me, it's clear. Like University of Carolina is just like the giga, right? I love alchemy. Science is just the goat, right? Science lets you do everything. We already talked about this in my guide in HA. Yeah, science is just. I'm not gonna repeat it. Science is just insane. Getting to science is perfect. You can go from 2 to 4 in H1. That is already perfect. Now, if you already have alchemy, it's still perfect. Honestly, I think this with alchemy is kind of perfect. Like you want 6 science. That's also what I say in my guide. You want 6 science at the end of H2. Kind of enough already. I mean, minimum 6 to be honest. A little bit more would still be nice, but often you get like 4 and with like double alchemy, and there's not infinite ways to get it to 6. At the same time, you really don't want to stay at 2 because that's just really sad. And then you go to yeah. So I don't know. Like, if you have alchemy, this is amazing. If you don't have alchemy, this is amazing. But I think if you don't have alchemy, I don't know. Maybe it's in my mind. It's like usually like, oh, okay, oh, you can go +2. You don't need alchemy anymore, which is kind of true. But I think you don't need scientific method because I like scientific method makes you go to 8. It's kind of too much. If you get an early alchemy, you get the 6 going early. It give takes less resources. You get it early. You just have enough for the rest of the game. You don't need 8. So it's just if you go for 8, it's I think yeah. I mean you can do it. It's 8 is also good, but uh, so I mean it's flexible. You can go for on 4 for a while and then go into a late scientific or like later scientific method. But I think I don't know if people fall into this trap, but I found myself falling into this trap. Like, take Carolina, I'm like, oh, I don't need alchemy anymore. I'm like, no, but actually, alchemy kind of perfect for this. Just go to alchemy. You can go into an early H2 government, still be able to take everything, and you just don't need if you have an early alchemy or like just an alchemy in H1 with Carolina, you don't need anything more. So why am I skipping the alchemy and waiting for a scientific method? I don't think it's necessary. Similarly, of course, Silk Road also makes science, which makes it quite nice. But I think it's clearly a lot worse than Carolina. Like Carolina is just so nice to build 3-3-3. This is so awkward. Like 5, you need uh, a lot of, uh, a lot of civil actions, and then you also get some problems with corruption when you build it. So you really need to like finish it in one go. So it's just very annoying to build. If this was also 3-3-3, now they gets one science, one culture, two culture. Of course, is definitely a difference, but uh, I don't count. At some point, I would need to think how much one culture is really worth, but yeah, I still don't value it so much. Um, so this is always 2. This can be at most 2. Getting one science. Okay, there's some specific ones with like the military action, the like the patriotism and stuff. Like there's some, or maybe that's the only one. I don't know. Oh yeah, there's like this this HA thing, right? One food, one rock, which can be doubled. But maybe there's something else. But um, yeah, one per turn is not really possible. Of course, maybe one every 2 turns is possible. You when you take this, it's probably gonna be more than one per 2 turns, but only because you have the Silk Road. So you're gonna lose value by picking yellow cards that you didn't really want to pick because they're still better than not picking them because you have the Silk Road, but you can't really count them as a perfect +1 from that, right? If you know what I mean, because yeah, you lose some value by taking the yellow card, which you otherwise wouldn't do. So let's say one per 2 turns, maybe. I'm not really sure exactly, but then it's 1.5. Then it's clearly, I think, clearly worse than Universitas Carolina, and then it's also um, way harder to build. So if this would be similar to build, then I think Sogard would still be worse, but it would be pretty close, but it's a lot harder to build. So it's definitely, I think, quite a bit worse than Universitas. But still makes science, still makes things. You can use it right away, the thing, so you don't have to finish it to get some value out of it. But I don't think that part really. So I guess that definitely that offsets a bit of the building it or building it being harder. But like like for example, two civil actions on its own, right? Not even just like the fact that it's hard to build, but just putting into civil actions, and we said like one civil action, maybe 1.5 rocks. Then this is 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then it would be 10 rocks. So I guess that's not even that much different. But there's also the corruption thing, and like if this, yeah, that's also there. So maybe 11 rocks, then it's already +2. And then this is still stronger, but it's definitely not bad. But yeah, you definitely need like a fifth civil action to build this, I would say, at least. If you have like some Hammurabi and the Code of Law and you see this, or Masonry, right? Masonry can help. Then this helps. But yeah, the one science definitely helps a lot uh, for the thresholds. Like four science is not enough, and you can't really skip alchemy, in my opinion. Like really need it. So you're kind of always going to the four, and then the fifth or the sixth is this very nice value. Um, yeah, Silk Road is solid, but I think it's quite a bit worse than Silk Road. So I would put it at A tier. Then let's see. Yes. What would be the next one? Not so easy. I don't know. I do want to speed up a little bit. I mean, Himachi Castle, Great Walls, interesting, and St. Peter's Forbidden City. They're kind of doing similar stuff. Let's look at Machu Picchu. I like Machu Picchu quite a bit, like a lot actually. If we say that this is like 1.5, I'm also curious. Maybe it's higher than 1.5. I don't really know. I just take yellow cards. I like yellow cards, but if you take this, it also means you do have 5 silver actions at least, which makes you able to take yellow cards more often. So that's kind of funny, sort of synergy within itself. Like you kind of take this only if you have more civil actions, I guess, or masonry, which also means that you can take more yellow cards, which is kind of funny. But it could be more than zero point 0.5, maybe points. But yeah, I think it's clear. So 1.6, 1.6. It goes to 2. Oh yeah, and this one step thing, right? You can do the one step, but it's also not so like losing the blue token for a while. Sure, you have this effect, which is nice, but losing the blue token is also a bit annoying. I used to think vast territory was like, oh yeah, -1 blue token, no downside, right? Just use your resources, and then I'm like stuck on 3 food +0, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have a corruption every turn unless I'm like making some very awkward turn. So yeah, this upside okay, but there's also blue token lost if you do that, and yeah, so you can play like 2 rocks and you get some value. Yeah. Yeah, okay. I don't really want to think about it more, but I think it's worse than Carolina, but yeah, it's pretty good. I think A tier, solid A tier probably. It's a little bit better than I thought actually. I thought it would be a lot worse, but maybe it's only slightly worse than Carolina. And Carolina is like super sick. So Machu Picchu, H1 farm. Uh, well, you usually get one of them. Then you get 3 per turn, 3 resources per turn. Now that is insane, right? That is S tier, right? Like this is 2 resources, but science is better than our other resources. But this is 3 resources. So now we think a little bit more in detail. Like if you already have iron, okay, you got 2 extra iron or 2 extra rocks. That's also exactly what you want. You want to go to 8, so that's perfect. Those 2 rocks are not diminishing or anything. It's actually just perfect. Now then you have 1 food for a while until you have selective breeding. Then you go into selective breeding. Um, you upgrade one. Do you upgrade the second one? I think so, yes, because the difference between 6 and 5 is very big. Um, because it's basically the difference between like, yeah, +3 and +4 and on the food usually. So you do probably eventually upgrade double. But I mean, it takes a while, you know. It's like you put this in H1, you get the 2 rocks and the 1 food, and the 1 food is very nice because you can get one more guy out, and then you take the selective breeding, then you upgrade one, and then eventually you upgrade the second. But then you already took a lot of value, and then you also still have the 2 rocks and the blue token. And again, the one blue token is quite nice. Having 1 or 2 blue tokens, it is nice. Like I know, like Isabel also does it. I think 1 blue token is definitely still quite nice, especially if you are gonna get a vast territory or something like that, like the other autonomous territory later. Then it actually provides some value. So um, I don't know. I think if you have iron, yeah, it's just 2 rocks per turn with some extra value, and then two rocks and food for a long time. Isn't that super sick? And then if you have irrigation instead, yeah, it's also perfect. Then suddenly you have an irrigation, and you hate irrigation, but only because you need triple irrigation to actually get a comfortable amount of food out. Now you have, which is selective breeding, basically the same as selective breeding. Yeah, now it's perfect. You have this, you get selective breeding. Plus, you still get the 1 rock for a long time. You can go to um, coal. Now, again, it takes some time, you know, like for you upgrade your first into coal, you upgrade your second into coal, and then, only once you would upgrade the third, you would lose out on the Machu Picchu, which is quite a ways away into the game usually. So, and then you would, in this case, probably not upgrade it, I would think, because it would basically go from 2 to 3. So you go +1, and it costs like 6, so it takes like 6 turns to get back the value, which, and that's also like again front loaded. You lose 6 here, and then you get it back over 6 turns. Meanwhile, you could invest in something else, and then the 6 become more, right? Over these turns. So no, I either with irrigation is amazing, with iron is amazing, without anything can still be picked, I think. Like it's a bit weird, but you get +2 for a long time, and then you can still do the double call with the thing, and it's like fine. And I mean, it's a bit weird, of course. But it's really rare that you don't. There, like people don't pick irrigation for one, so you can just pick the irrigation. And there's also 3 iron, so you also have that very often. So I don't know. I think I'd never hear anyone talk about Machu Picchu. Isn't the Machu Picchu crazy strong? This was actually the last wonder that I used, funnily enough. And then I had it like there's like the achievement. This was the last one that I had. Um, and then every single game I see Machu Picchu in the game, I'm like, I have to take this Machu Picchu. Every time I have it, every time I see someone else have it, they just pop the hell off because it's insanely strong. I mean, but yeah, for some reason, sometimes it's yeah. I mean, even like something like Universitas, it's I want to pick it, but sometimes it's just hard to pick because you're doing other stuff. But I do feel like Universitas always gets picked up. Like it never really finishes the row almost. Oh yeah, that's right. Like sometimes you at age A, and then this comes early, right? And then you cannot pick it up because you haven't finished your wonder yet, right? But I think I would pick this up anytime. Like even if I don't have iron or irrigation yet, like just pick it up if you can, naked, like similarly to this. So yeah, this is probably a hot take because I have not seen anyone really talk about this, and I hear people talk about this all the time, like every single game. But yeah, so I'm not really sure what I'm missing. I think we thought we talked it through. I guess one thing would be like if you don't have iron, like very often I only have alchemy actually, funnily enough. And then you're like, oh, I can take the Machu Picchu because there's an irrigation, but maybe you can also just wait with the irrigation and then actually just go to selective breeding, and it's actually not so difficult. Like it's the end of H1 or something, you go into irrigation because you have the Machu Picchu, but you can also just wait like two more turns and you can go into selective breeding. But and then you're just like, oh yeah, I have selective breeding, but you can also just already take selective breeding. But even then, it still gives you well, okay, the two science and then also four rocks from not having to upgrade into selective breeding, but only irrigation. So that's already six resources. And who's gonna say that if you don't take this irrigation, that means that there's three people that are waiting for the selective breeding. So when are you gonna get it, right? So I don't think that's even an argument that you're like, oh, but they can late iron, but I can get into coal. But yeah, there's only two coal, and if you don't take this iron, who knows how long it's gonna be, right? So I don't know. I feel like there's yeah, everything that I can come up with, Machu Picchu's just insanely strong. So looking forward to the comments. And Forbidden City, I think is super solid. It has four steps, which is a bit sad, but I think it's solid. Um, but I would say it's like worse than these. Silk Road, I think is still stronger for sure. And then yeah, there's also like four. Sometimes you just low on civil actions, then you like this. Sometimes, I mean, very often you're gonna go into H2 with like an unhappy worker. Then this is quite nice. I think this is nicer when you have maybe already a wonder in HA where you have one happy phase, and then you can take Forbidden City because otherwise you already have a let's say a bread and circuses down. Then the only thing you need to do is put the worker in bread and circuses to solve the unhappy phase problem. If you if you if you have a wonder, however, and you didn't need that urban building, then suddenly you would have to take an urban building. You don't really want to, especially at the end of H1. So then you can maybe play the Forbidden City. Then you don't have to take the urban building and really do all the take it, develop it, put a worker on it. Then suddenly much higher effort, right? So if you don't have the urban building yet, um, then this should go up. If you don't have a civil action yet, this should go up. And overall, it's like a very reasonable amount of value, I think. But yeah, the fact that this discontent worker thing doesn't work with immigration uh, and the impacts is definitely annoying. Just costs you like 4 points late game very often with the happiness because that one just kind of always gets played because it's just kind of free to play. And if someone has Forbidden City, then you just gain points from that. So yeah, that impact just gets in almost every time. So definitely just lose 4 points for that. But yeah, Yeah, it's also not the end of the world. It's pretty solid, but I think it's just like B tier maybe. I think it's better than St. Peter's Basilica though. And Peter's Basilica just doesn't do anything really. I think it's like C tier. Like you have some culture, but who cares about that? Like let's look at the Silk Road compared to Basilica. Yeah, this guy just gets like one science plus some stuff. Okay, this again of course costs three, but or it's like three CA. This is five, but this six one is maybe a bit annoying, right? But um, yeah, one happy face, and then it's like, oh yeah, it solves your happy face is what I like here. I don't know where I hear this thing. Like sometimes I like I'm like if I think in my mind. I'm like, I don't hear people talk about Machu Picchu, but like, it's not like I consume a lot of. I only watch Weidenbaum a bit, and or I guess I'm on the Discord. I don't know. I feel like somehow I still pick up that like I've heard some people say something about St. Peter Basilica. Oh, it solves your happy faces. And I'm like, yeah, okay, but you have like this is to me this is just the glorified uh Hanging Gardens, and a lot of people shit talk Hanging Gardens. I actually think Hanging Gardens is quite solid. Um, But isn't this just hanging gardens? Like, you have the St. Peter's Basilica, and then what? You have like bread and circuses. Well, then you have four happy faces. Then this St. Peter's Basilica is giving you two happy faces, just like Hanging Gardens, by the way. Hanging Gardens gives you one culture, this gives you two culture, but Hanging Gardens gives you uh, two food, and it's easier to build with and costs two less, and it's easier to build with 2 to 2 instead of 1 6 1. So and then you get two happy faces. Then you just have enough happy face for a while, and it's like, oh yeah, you saw, but you just gained two happy phase. Like it's not like it gives you five happy phase or anything. It just gives you two happy phases, and then like if you have a happy phase, like I don't know, like if you get a random religion, it's quite nice. You actually get like two happy phases, and it's kind of free. But then again, like, do you really want to get the third happy phase? Are you gonna make another tier 1 religion to get two more happy phases, or would you rather still just upgrade that religion into a H2 religion to get the two happy phases? Well, I think I just rather upgrade it probably. Well, I have to think about it, I guess. It's like it just costs you some science and then some rocks instead of same rocks. So it's basically the science trade for the population, which I think probably would buy a population for that amount of science and civil action, I guess. Anyway, um, but yeah, it's like how many multiplication of the happy face are you really getting? Like, okay, you can get a Homer, you can get the colony, but the common things are. I feel like it just gives you one happy face for a very long time, like two happy faces. So one happy face from itself, and then one you have to amplify, like, and so you still need that bread and circus, you still need that other happy face guy, and then the extra the second happy face is kind of wasted for a while very often. And it's like, no, I don't know. Then you just give some culture, just give anything. Like it's useless. There's some funny synergies with Michelangelo and Joan of Arc, and it's like some funny get a little bit extra. Maybe then it can be strong enough, but I don't know. I never picked this up. Taj Mahal, okay. I mean, just put it here. Like only culture. Really, I have to have a lot of leftover, like some frequently. I need to watch this video on Taj Mahal from Danny Boy because I've not watched it yet, but I saw it like freaking 20 minutes video. This is kind of funny. I'll do it at some point, but I would in my opinion like this I never take, even if it's on zero civil action. I don't really take unless you really have like some triple iron nothing to do, or new deposits came and there's some Taj Mahal or something. But I mean, it's basically like this. You trade this for the two happy phases. We can get one now. So it's not. This is sad. Then we have Great Wall, Himeji Castle. I think Himeji Castle is a little bit better than Great Wall, and I think Himeji Castle is quite strong actually. I'm thinking if it's A or B. Um, Yeah, it really is in between for me. But I think I would like Magic Castle a little bit more than Forbidden City, but less than Silk Road. Kind of clearly more, or clearly less than Silk Road, I think. Or I don't know. Yeah, yes, but maybe also here. So let's just put it here and talk about it a little bit, and then maybe we can decide. So, and I think Great Wall is maybe B tier, I would say, but let's just get him up here as well. Um, so Himeji Castle, right? Now, the use case of this is just very nice in H1 whenever you can't really get stronger, right? You see people going up to like 9 strength, 10 strength, and you're like stuck at 9 strength, and then they're going to like 10 strength, 11 strength, and then you're like, well, fuck. Well, worry not. You take the Himeji Castle, you make it, you get the 2 strength, it's kind of perfect. And yeah, now you can lift yourself up over the strength of the others. And yeah, this passive thing is just so extremely annoying. It's so freakingly strong. Like it's so annoying. Like whenever someone has the Magic Castle, I mean, I love warring people. I love aggressing people. But it's like, oh, I see this. I see this little icon next to the person with the Himeji Castle. Yeah, suddenly they have basically a passive like, they easily have 2 strength, so they have like +3 strength while defending as well. So the 5 strength that they can just poop out to defend against aggression or war. Now 5 strength, and they also get 2 strength, so that's 7 strength from this Himeji Castle defensively. Now everyone knows, or if you listen to Nostradamus, getting this +3 strength, of course, this strength doesn't actually work uh, for the events, so it's definitely different. But yeah, even late game, like getting this 5. I mean, late game this can go up to 8 strength, right? You can just get a Air Force or just a tier 3 something, go up to 8 strength. It just makes you not able to target this person with an aggression unless you want your aggression to be that he loses an Air Force, but that's just usually not worth it. Like if you're really that strong that you can pull off an aggression, there's often maybe someone else that you have a decent chance of putting an aggression on. Even if the chance is not so high, then you rather have some value for yourself. Because if you're playing with 4 players, um, only giving one person some negative value, but you getting no value, it's just not very tempting, Like your politics phase are strong. If you're strong, you want to use it, either aggress someone, or otherwise you can still seed and get like some random politics of strength, and suddenly you win the game off of that. So it's just you're almost immune, I would say, like, against aggressions, and then you need so much more to war someone. And even if you are able to war someone that has the Magic Castle, he will just gain 8 strength or eight points. Especially late game, it matters a little bit less that they lose it. Like if you do a war in H4, then you can't war them again. You could aggress them, but then at least they can do it again, right? With the defense. So yeah, it's just and the fact that they can have this +8 sometimes makes them able to just win the war. And then of course it's not only losing 8 or winning 8 less, it's also actually flipping the +5 into the other direction, so you lose another 10 compared to, well, the person. So yeah, this can flip for basically 26 points by, if you're just counting like number one attacking number two. Number one attacks number two. If they have an Himeji Castle, suddenly they can defend for 8, and now they win, so they get another +5. You lose 5, and you lose the 8. So you lose 13, compared to them not having it, and they gain 13. So the difference between the two is 26. Uh, the difference between you and the other two players is of course only 13, but the difference between the two is 26 points. I mean that is completely nuts, of course. But yeah, no, I just find it so extremely annoying to play against that I had to have to say it's really strong. In 4 players, there's a lot more military action, and yeah, this culture similar with the Silver. I mean, I know I hate culture, but I do notice it, similarly with Francisca Nostradamus. If people have this thing or these things, they will be ahead by like 20 points, doing sort of similar stuff, but then they have this going, and then suddenly they have 20 points, and it is annoying. So yeah, I'm understanding more and more a little bit the value of the culture now that it's becoming more and more difficult to war, and of course with the Magic Castle, it's even more difficult. And yeah, it's only 2 steps, guys. So especially with like some engineering genius or something, you cannot even use it on the Silk Road nicely. In Magic Castle, you can always do it and then just make it. You can even make it right away if you have some new deposits or something. You can just slam it and just uh, just make it right away in your turn. So you also don't have the issue with the corruption as much, right? If you take the Silk Road, then you have like two actions left. Suddenly you want to make 2 steps, you just get giga corrupted. Here, yeah, you just use up all your rocks. So yeah, super sick. I don't know. The 2 strength doesn't look like much, but it's actually the perfect amount for the timing that you get it. And then you're immune to aggressions and late game wars is just extremely difficult. And even if you do get ward, yeah, it's basically gaining back like eight or something points, and then them losing the 8 points. That is basically the aggression where you steal 7 points, which is like a huge swing just from having the castle is unbelievably strong. Actually makes the good culture. So yeah, I think it's pretty solid. Now, if you compare the Silk Road to the Magic Castle, there's also two, and then two is way easier to build, of course, but if it just costs two less at least. But yeah, this giving like 1.5 per turn, yeah, it has to be quite a bit stronger, kind of, even though this is like super, super strong passive. Getting all this economic value, you should be able to get some strength from that and just be in a better setup also late game. So maybe that would make it go down to B. Um, yeah, that also seems kind of reasonable. Like if you don't actually need the 2 strength, I think it's too bad. I think this guy is actually quite nice. If the 2 strength makes the difference at the point where you're at. Otherwise, it's just not good enough. So probably it cannot really go into A, and it should be in B. And then Great Wall is a bit similar. It's like, oh, my strength is not enough. I made some infantry, and then the nice thing is like, oh, I need to make a lot of infantry because yeah, people are pushing strength, and then suddenly you get +3, +4 from this. Now, now this really already is better than the Himeji Castle, and then late game you can get like 6 strength from this, or yeah, I mean it depends a bit, but yeah, if you're really going into the swordsman and you're kind of stuck into that, and then it's like, oh, it's kind of difficult to scale, and suddenly Great Wall is your friend, and that actually does scale you into H2 quite nicely without having many options for tactics. This is basically your tactic. But yeah, look at this. It's like 4 steps. It's quite annoying to build, in my opinion. Like making 2 steps, and then you still have corruption because these are basically a blue token, which is the same as the iron. So you're like, oh, you're not actually getting out of corruption at all by making this great wall. Um, so I do find it quite difficult to make just by the amount of steps. Like if this was also 4 5 4 5, like I mean, then maybe Great Wall would already be stronger. But yeah. similar strength. The passive with this gets extra strength, but this kind of gets a lot of extra strength late game in another way. So maybe similar. Then the happy face is stronger than one culture, of course. But then this making it way more easy to make in the part of the game where you're at. It's like, oh, I'm struggling to increase my strength, and now I have to pace like 2 actions and then 4 actions that cost me like 2 turns. Instead, this I just take it, I make it, boom. Next turn I can do whatever. And yeah, of course, if you really have cavalry, then this doesn't really do that much. So it definitely has some uh, constrictions again. You don't really want to go into a lot of swordsman, but yeah, if you're really going into that because you're kind of forced to, then this is quite a nice option. When you pick it, it's usually strong, basically, but can't pick it that often. This is similarly like it's more flexible. You can pick it more in more places, and when you pick it, that two strength matters. It's quite strong. Yeah, late game they're both strong. So yeah, they're maybe pretty similar. I think in beat here. All right, so we did make it. 1.5 hours is what it is. I feel like we talked a lot. Um, this Columbus being an A looks just ridiculous, but because I never really picked this thing, but I need to try this out more because in theory it's kind of makes sense. Like really thinking about it more, like saying that tier one leader. Okay, maybe talked about it already, but yeah, it's interesting. So this guy is interesting. This guy is interesting. This guy is interesting or girl. Other than that, I feel relatively solid. Oh yeah, and the Machu Picchu, of course. I feel pretty solid in my understanding of Machu Picchu because I feel like but for some reason people don't rate it, so I am really curious. And yeah, we got some clarity on this. We got some more ideas about this. Yeah, yeah. I also, yeah, I thought that people like this a bit more than I maybe, but I feel like when I think about it, it just makes a lot of sense that this kind of sucks. And yeah, I like it. I'm happy. And there's a lot of strong H1 leaders, which also does resonate with me because whenever I look at the hero list, I'm like, H1, oh, there's like so many nice things. Then I look at H2 and I'm like, oh my god, there's like only 3 guys that I like in this game, and there's like all these culture leaders that are not very good in 4 players, I believe. But that's it for now. I hope you got something out of it. If you agree, let me know. If you say like, oh yeah, Machu Picchu is the best, let me know. If you disagree, also let me know. But of course, give some argument because yeah, at the end of the day, I'm also still learning and I'm very curious about other people's uh, evaluations. Okay, see you in the next one.